Well, you figure it's, what, May 28th, 2015, the day that I'm recording this. What better time than now to unveil my first 2016 NFL mock draft? The way too goddamn early fucking edition. Now, let's establish a couple of ground rules first before I actually talk about this one-round 2016 NFL mock draft that you can find in the description box down below. Number one, yes, a ton of shit in terms of prospects will change over the next 11 months or so. So don't take it too seriously. This is just an attempt to kind of give you the outlines of what you can maybe expect out of next year's draft class in terms of the positions that are going to be loaded with talent, the positions that aren't, the strength or lack of strength of the particular draft class. Talk about some potential trends, what have you. Number two, if you're about to sit there and look at where your team's picking and you're going to get all butthurt, please stop. This is no way an indication by me of where your team is going to be picking come the 2016 NFL Draft. How did I determine the draft order? Let me explain this slowly and clearly so that way everybody can understand it and remove the panties from their butt crack. I drew the teams out of a hat. Here's what I did. I put all 32 teams, literally, each on an individual little piece of paper. I threw them all into a hat. I said, okay, whoever I pick now has the number one pick. I went in there, it's San Francisco 49ers. Then to mix it up, I said, okay, this team will have the last pick of the first round. And I picked, and it happened to be the Green Bay Packers. And I literally did that for the entire draft. I literally did. It just happened to work out that way. Now, where some of these teams are is about where I would envision them. Some of them, probably not. But again, it's just the way the freaking things were drawn. That simple. That simple. And what I did was actually, is I sat there and split it up between AFC and NFC, so that way I could alternate picks between the conferences. And what actually happened for the first pick, I got to correct this. I flipped a coin. I said heads, AFC gets the first pick. Tails, NFC gets the first pick. It was tails. It went NFC. Then that's where I went and got the 49ers. And based off of it, just off the formula, that's why the 31st pick went to the NFC. Yeah, I hope you get it. I hope you understand it. Now that we've established that, let's talk about the 2016 NFL Draft. Some of the positions that I expect to be the strengths of next year's draft class would include the quarterback position, the defensive line, perhaps offensive tackle, and I think running back as well. Another really strong class will look to be safety. As weak as the 2015 draft class was as safety, I think the 2016 class is going to be that much stronger. In terms of the overall outlook for the 2016 NFL Draft, at least looking early on, it looks like this could be a really good, really talented first round, much better than we had in 2015 and a whole hell of a lot better than we had in 2013. I think this is going to be a really good draft, especially at the top. If there is a draft you wanted to have multiple first-round picks in, this is probably going to be the one. So what else do I want to talk about here? Okay, let's start off with the most important position, the quarterback position. Now, the way I look at it right now is you could have as many as 6 different quarterbacks in that first-round conversation, although I would expect only 3 or 4 of them to be taken in round number 1. I think next year's quarterback class is going to be a lot better than this year's quarterback class was. I do think right now the leader in the clubhouse, which maybe surprise some of you, will be Jared Goff from California. I know you've heard a lot about Hackenberg from Penn State or Connor Cook from Michigan State or maybe Cardell Jones, kind of the trendy pick from Ohio State. But I think it's Jared Goff who has a lot of the skills that NFL scouts and executives would look at and say that they can best project him as being the safest bet to be a franchise quarterback at the NFL level. Now, surely a lot could change in the 2015 college football season, but the way it sits to me right now is I expect the first quarterback taken, at least at this moment, to be Jared Goff from California. Again, a lot could change. You look at a guy like Hackenberg, you could see where some of the fuss is, but he didn't have a particularly good 2014. But if he has a really good 2015, and put him right back on track. If Connor Cook can work on his accuracy and his decision making and his ability to handle pressure a little bit better, then this is a guy that could get into that conversation as well. Some of you may be surprised to see a guy like Gunnar Kiel from Cincinnati thrown into the mix. You know, anything could happen. And I could envision, like I said, 4 quarterbacks for sure going in round number 1. I didn't put Cardale Jones or even Cody Kessler from USC in here. I need to see more from both of them. I do. And, you know, I look at Cardale Jones. He has a very small sample size. I'm not ready to crown him as a first-round pick just yet, although I think there's a good chance he could potentially become one. You know, now if you're looking at a situation where 4 or even 5 quarterbacks end up going in round 1 of the 2016 NFL draft, and the dynamics of the draft change dramatically. They change dramatically. And there is that potential. There is that possibility. It's like I said, it's going to be a pretty good quarterback class, but it's going to be a pretty good draft in general. The other real strength of this draft is going to be the defensive line, from Joey Bosa to Shawn Oakman to the kid from Ole Miss, whose name I can't pronounce, to Shawn Robinson, from Alabama. It's a really good class. Sheldon Day from Notre Dame, Buckner from Oregon. There's a lot of talent up front, like legitimate defensive line prospects too. 4-3 defensive tackles, 3-4 nose tackles, maybe more so 4-3 and 3-4 defensive ends. It's really those edge rushers in particular where the strength of this draft is going to be. It might be the group that people look to as being the real strength of this draft. You know, people are going to look at Joey Bosa and talk about him potentially being the number 1 overall pick. And you can see it. The one concern I might have about him at this moment is that at 275 pounds, if some of the teams at the top of the draft are a 3-4 team and they don't necessarily envision him being able to be a 5 technique at the next level, they might not envision him as an edge rusher in a 3-4. You know, that might hurt his stock a little bit, but Bosa's a stud, plain and simple. And I think he's a guy that's going to be a star at the NFL level. He'll elicit a lot of comparisons to J.J. Watt, and I most certainly understand them. I happen to like the running back class some in terms of at least the guys at the top. You know, there's a couple of them that really stand out to me. Most certainly Ezekiel Elliott from Ohio State, Derrick Henry from Alabama. Another running back that I really, really like is James Conner from Pittsburgh. There are others as well. I think this is a good, solid class, and I actually think that in terms of at the top, in terms of the top 4 or 5 running backs, 2016 will end up being a better draft than 2015 was at the position. Now, in terms of wide receiver, at least at this moment, I don't envision it being as strong of a class as we've had the past couple of years. I think Treadwell's a beast, and hopefully he comes back from his injury. And if he does, I think he's got all the tools to be a top 10 pick. A lot of you might be surprised that I have Rashard Higgins from Colorado State on here as my number 2 wide receiver. If you watched Garrett Grayson a lot in 2014, frankly, your eyeballs probably would have gravitated towards Rashard Higgins. This guy's a stud, and you're going to hear a lot more about him in the college season to come, I promise you. The offensive line class also looks, you know, fairly solid. A lot will play out, and we'll see what happens. But the safety class, I think, is going to really intrigue a lot of teams with guys like Ramsey and Andrews from Florida State. You're looking at a guy maybe as well like a Sua Cravens from USC. I'm looking at a possibility of 4, maybe even 5 safeties, at least the way it stands at this moment, being taken in round number 1, which would be a welcome sight for a lot of teams because the last couple of safety classes haven't been that particularly good, especially at the top. So a lot of these teams looking for an impact defender at free or strong safety are to be looking to the 2016 draft and be pleased with what they see at the top. There are options and possibilities there for them. Like I said, shaping up to be a pretty good draft class, at least the way I see it. For those of you wondering, at least the way I see it right now, who are some of my top prospects without rating them in any particular order. Now, again, just because I did it in a mock draft doesn't mean I necessarily view them as the best of the best. In terms of quarterbacks, for the moment, I would probably go with Jared Goff. But again, like I said, a lot can change. In terms of running backs, I'll probably stick with Ezekiel Elliott for now. In terms of offensive linemen, I probably will go with Ronnie Stanley, although I really like Vidal Alexander a lot from LSU. In terms of wide receivers, you know, Treadwell's a beast, but I really like Rashard Higgins as well. Bosa is a stud. I think he's legit. Who else? Jalen Smith from Notre Dame is an edge rusher that I happen to like quite a bit, similar to Leonard Floyd from Georgia if he can ever piece it all together. And I think Jalen Ramsey is going to be an absolute beast, a Pro Bowl, All-Pro type of free safety at the NFL level. Just giving you some insight. But you're welcome again to look at my way too goddamn ridiculously early freaking 2016 NFL mock draft in the description box down below. And let me know what you think. Let me know if you think I left some players out that should have been in the consideration, or if you think that my mock at least makes some sense, not so much just from a team standpoint, but based off of where the players would be going in this particular scenario. It probably is going to be a little while before I do another one of these. Maybe I'll do one once the college season starts. That will be the next one. So if you need a draft fix and you need a mock draft fix, this is probably the last one you're going to get from me for a few months. So enjoy it.